Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Darkside channel. In the last video I talked about something like composition at compile time, I think. It was class composition with templates at compile time. And I thought I could put it to a test and made an application out of it. It's less of an application. I tried to make a framework out of it. I hope it succeeded, but I will tell you in all detail in this video. I call it the CTAS. It's the compile time application server. So at least that's what I hope it will become in the future. Don't mind the underlinings from Eclipse. I'm using Eclipse now. I switched from Windows and Visual Studio to Linux and Eclipse. So yeah, and Eclipse has some problems with finding the right stuff because the class receiver could not be resolved, but it's right here. So yeah, well, let's ignore that. CTAS is essentially, at the moment, just a web server with set compile time class composition. And as you see, the server class here is built with a session provider and a simple session. These are classes that would you let them implement as a base class, and this base class forces these two classes to implement some methods like get session or get whatever variables are included in my simple session. But I wanted to go the way of concepts, so I think it's safe to say that C++20 will have concepts, and I did something similar to concepts. I used class composition with templates in practice for this example. My server gets two classes. One is a session provider and the other one is the session itself. These are classes then that can be and do anything. I think only the session provider is forced to implement some basic methods like get request and create request. So I will dive into that. I will not try to dive too deep into a web server because I handled some problems within it that would be too long for this video. So essentially you create a server instance that is done with this, and you start this server instance on a certain port with this, and this method is blocking. So if you want to make it not blocking, yeah, well, you have to fork this. Because this is made to be run just like this. This web server is not made to be very complicated. I used complicated methods to make it easy. At least I hope I did. So my first page is also again a class that is registered to the root. Slash is not only on Linux system but also on websites. Is the root where the first request is always sent from your browser if you visit a web page. So this is basically the landing page or the home page. Some frameworks will send you automatically to the index, like index.php if you have an I think it's an Apache server who by default sends you to an index page, or you have to register it in the config or something. My memory is hazy on that. So yeah, this class handles all requests that are sent to the root, and as you can see, all messages or requests that are sent to the receiver are handled by the receiver class. So yeah, well, let's start with I think the my first page would be a nice starter. So the my first page class isn't really that complicated, and as you can see, it's not implementing any special interface or abstract class or something. It's only required to have a method called handle request, which takes an HTTP request reference and returns an HTTP response. That's the only thing this method is supposed to do. And in this case, it's not doing much with the request it's getting, so you see there's no usage of the request instance, but it returns a response with a HTML5 complete HTML document that says !doc type HTML and so forth. And here you see my test if I can handle post requests. So I made a form that has as a target our receiver that we just registered, and it sends it via post. So if you don't know the difference between get and post requests, there are quite simple explanations on Wikipedia. They are actually quite good. So this has just two inputs, the first name and the last name. They are filled with text, Mickey and mouse. There's nothing special about it, and a submit button, so we can send it easily. So there's nothing for us to do. Yeah, that's about it for our first page, and the receiver tried some experiments with RapidJSON, because I'm trying to write a bit of stuff with JSON. I will not talk too much about it because it will take some time. It's another framework, as you can guess. And again, we are doing not much with the request except taking its body. It's a it's just a string reference, and writing it to the console to be really sure that all of the request was read, because reading the post body wasn't that easy, because I don't have much experience with buffers and flushing them and not flushing them, and what can be left behind within the buffer even if you don't read it, and so forth. Yeah, there was quite some pitfalls. If you want to know more about it, let me know in the comments. So yeah, we have our receiver, and we send a bit of JSON that we are building here with RapidJSON out. So I take the response, set the body, and return it. Nothing else, nothing much else happening here. So as you can see, these both are quite simple. The more complicated part to this is building the simple session provider and the simple session. So the simple session does really not much, but implementing two methods like isSet and insert does exactly 0, because I create this simple session just to, as you can see, keep key value pairs in an unordered map. Nothing much. And the session provider does nothing else like get session and create session. These are the two methods that session provider needs to implement. Not really complicated. Creates a session with an unique ID, as you can see. So session hijacking is really easy with that one, because you just manipulate your HTTP request with a session ID smaller than yours, and if you are lucky, you are hijacking someone else's session. Yeah, but else nothing much happening here. And here I'm returning null up, so I wasn't really keen on returning the session anyway, as it looks like. But again, this is just for testing. And I think that's about all for this video. I just wanted to introduce you to my little new project. It's also been quite a while since I started it. I just had some time to record this video. I think I will try to launch it just to show you how it works, and it's always stopping here. I never understand why. So it's resuming, and it's starting to listen, and then I will take just another browser page, and wait a second for me here. I will just go here, and here's a standard Mozilla Firefox browser, and we are going to localhost 1337 to test it. So we will enter localhost port 1337, and there it is. And as you can see, it loads really fast. That's also one point of the whole thing. I tried the PHP server, and it had always a 7 millisecond delay, and I was quite annoyed by that. And if you try to debug this nice thing, if you go to network and reload all this, and if you watch the timings, then you get exactly 0 milliseconds. Maybe this is coming from the cache, to be honest. It could really be that this is just cached. Course transferred size, I think it's not telling me if it's cached or not, but you can trust me, it's awfully fast. And of course, favicon, I have nothing thereafter implemented. So we are just submitting, and we get our piece of JSON getting returned here, and it works like a charm, I have to say. I spent quite some time with it. I had quite some reading to do and experimenting with the networking stuff. This is, I think I totally forgot to mention, this web browser framework. I'm sorry, it's not a web browser, it's web server. This web server framework will work with standard C++ 23, I think, because the networking technical specification didn't make it into the C++ 20 time frame, and it's really a shame, to be honest, because I was really looking forward to it. It's the first time something essential like network communication sockets are making it into the C++ standard, and I think it didn't even make it into C++ 17, what was a shame, and it's even not making it into C++ 20 because it relies on executors, and those are still not in 20, I think. and so it will be done for 23, but you can just download it, the network TS, from GitHub. Just look for C++ networking TS, and you'll get directed to the GitHub page. It gets a bit of time to get used to using the TS. I'm coming from a Java and C# background, and using the TS with its executors and what else lambdas I have to use to make it work. It was quite annoying in the at the start, but yeah, well. And here is the post body that was sent to our receiver here, this one. So the body was read as it should be. Yeah, and I think that's about it. I hope you like it. Was just a simple impression of this, and I will work on the component framework in the future, so to look out for that, but I can't promise any time frame whatsoever. And for those of you who are still with me, here's a small glimpse to how I set up all the pages. This is the server code. Don't be shocked by the error messages, because Eclipse is incompetent in registering something simple like optional. So, well, whatever. I try to use modern C++ as much as possible, and I think I got rid of any raw pointers so far, and I'm quite proud of that, because it's not really simple. But as you can see, not using concepts but using something similar to concepts like isSession, this one here, it's really a pain in the butt. And I'm really hoping for concepts and wide adoption. So all my code here will be nice, simple, and standard conform with almost no external linking, and of course, since it's template stuff, header only. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And if you have any interest about the project, I'll put a GitHub link in the description, because everything I do in code stuff as a hobby is on my GitHub page, so you can enjoy or do whatever with it. At least do whatever what's within the license, and within the moral restrictions you should put on yourself. And with this, have a nice day, week, year, and goodbye.